Okay, this is Mr. Rops here.
And Mrs. Flynn.
Right, and we are going to work on some trigonometric identities.
So first thing, please make sure that you do have a notebook out so you can take notes as we go along, and you can pause the podcast and rewind if you needed.
Good thinking. Okay, so first thing we're going to look at is tangent theta. Well, we have our unit circle here, all dandy, and we know in our unit circle that this here is cosine theta, because that's the x value, and this here is sine theta. Well, tangent we know from right triangle trig is the opposite over the adjacent. So if I look at this angle, opposite is sine over cosine, and so tangent theta is also the same thing as saying sine theta over cosine theta.
And I always remember because you can get tan in Southern California.
Nice, TSC, nice. Okay, tan in Southern California, that's a good one. I don't know that one. I know now. The other one is Pythagorean identity. Well, I have a right triangle, and everyone knows that in a right triangle, we know a squared plus b squared is c squared. Well, a is simply cos squared theta. B is sine squared theta, and c is 1 squared, which is just 1. And so this is Pythagorean identity.
And we use that a lot in trig.
Yeah, and we also do stuff like we'll cos squared, we subtract the sine, so it's equal to 1 minus sine squared.
And obviously you can do it the same for cosine.
Exactly. So that's kind of what we use these ones more so than the cos squared plus sine squared equal to 1. All right, so what do we do with these identities? Well, we have to do things like simplify them and prove identities. We'll do the first example of simplifying. Some of the tricks to the trade are we change all terms of sine and cosines. We could find a common denominator, factor, expand, watch for common factors, differences. Do what the math tells you to do, basically, and then see what happens. So let's take a look at this example here.
All right, so we have cosine squared x divided by sine squared x times tangent squared x minus sine squared x.
Right. Okay, so
we could write out our identities, our trig identities.
We could.
The ones that we're going to use.
Yeah, so when I see this one, I see tan squared. And I want to put things in terms of cosine squared. I know that tan x equals sine x over cos x. So I'm going to plug that into here. So I get cos squared over sine squared times tangent squared is going to be sine squared over cosine squared minus the sine squared x. Well, I can do some wonderful canceling here. That cancels, cancels, cancels.
Yay, we have 1 minus sine squared x. And from our identity, we know that that will equal cosine squared.
Cosine squared x. And so that simplifies just simply to cosine squared x. And that will be it.